And today we're going to be cooking, actually baking. If you have been following me on my vlogs, you will know that I just got back from New York. And while I was out there, I tried this amazing, creamy, oh so good cheesecake. So I will show you right here what it looks like. So it came from a place called Bread Plus Bakery in Brooklyn, and it was wonderful. Anyway, so I hope that I can do it justice. I am gonna go ahead and recreate that cheesecake. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to be using the Nabisco Graham Crackers Original. These do not have cinnamon. Now, the original cheesecake that we had in New York did not have a graham cracker crust. They ended up having more of like a very thin layer of cake. So they come like this. I am going to end up using what's equal to 15 of these to start. That way we can get 1 3/4 cup and we can add it to it, but let's start with about 15. And I'm going to use it in a bag. I don't have a food processor right now, and the blender that I typically use, I try to do it, but it'll crush it too fine, and I don't want that. So let's go ahead and crush these. And if you don't have a food processor, you can use the same method that I'm using. Just place your graham crackers inside of a plastic bag. I happen to be using a rolling pin, and this is pretty much what you want, this thick, grainy consistency. And in a bowl, let's go ahead and measure out 2 cups. Plenty. Again, it's going to be a little bit of a coarser crumble versus like finely crushed. So let's go ahead and set this aside. So we're also going to add the zest from 1 lime. Since this is completely plain, we're going to get just a little bit of flavor. Here we have 4 tablespoons of sugar, just a little pinch of salt, so whatever fits right here. And then here we have 5 tablespoons of melted butter. As you can tell, it's already been melted. Okay, so now let's just take a fork and get that well combined. Okay, so I went ahead and melted 1 more tablespoon of butter, so a total of 6. Okay, so this should stick a lot better. Okay, so here I have a 9.5-inch springform pan. I've gone ahead and already put the plate inside. I'm going to put just a little bit of butter on the inside just to kind of tack down the parchment paper, because I will be lining this with parchment paper. Just to kind of tack it down in place. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same for the sides. I'm using the Reynolds Wrap parchment paper, and I like it because it has a grid, so it makes it much easier to cut. You can see the grid lines right there. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and tack this down. There. Okay, so now we have it fully lined. And let's go ahead now. This is only going to be on the bottom. I'm not going to be doing the sides. Cracker. Let's go ahead and pour that in. And again, it is just going to be on the bottom. Okay, so here I'm just going to go ahead and take my fork and spread it out evenly. Once that's evenly spread out, I am just going to go ahead and use a glass, the bottom of the glass, to press the graham cracker down. Okay, so there you have your crust, and again, it is only on the bottom. Okay, so before we throw this in the oven, we are going to go ahead and line this with foil. So I'm just going to put a couple of strips of foil. I do use the Reynolds Wrap. I did not get the wider one, so I'm going to overlap my aluminum foil strips. So let's go ahead and fold in these sides and wrap the sides of these. And by wrapping it in foil, this is going to make it so much easier when we do the final bake of the actual cheesecake. So first we're going to do the crust and then the cheesecake, but we want to make sure we don't get any water into this. So let's go ahead and bake our crust. It's going to be 350 degrees for about 7-8 minutes. just gonna put that right in the center. Okay, I've gone ahead and pulled it out of the oven. It's got this beautiful golden color. So let's go ahead and let this cool, and we will start working on our cheesecake batter. Before we get started on the cheesecake batter, there's a few things we want to do. One, we want to get some water nice and hot. Two, we want to preheat the oven to 325 degrees. And three, we want to put a pan. Now, I don't have one that's shallower, so I'm using a deep roasting pan. When we put the cheesecake spring form in here, we're also going to add hot water to it. So anyway, that's why we're heating up the water. Okay, so here we have cream cheese. Now, I did go to Whole Foods. It's 2 pounds, but I wanted to show you what it looks like when you buy it in the containers from their store. I did feel as though they used a higher quality cream cheese for the New York cheesecake that we bought. So I wanted to try something other than the Philadelphia cream cheese. So let's go ahead and get this going. And we are going to whip this. Now, 2 pounds sounds like a lot, but should be fine. There is the rest of that. Okay, and we're gonna mix this for about 5 minutes. Remember to scrape the sides so we get everything in there nice and whipped up. Whoops. And just remember to stop every once in a while, scrape the bowl, and then keep mixing. And like I said, I'm going to do this for 5 minutes. I actually set a timer so that I don't over whip it or under whip it. So I'm definitely keeping to like a 5-minute timing for the mixing. Okay, so I have been mixing this for 5 minutes. The timer went off, and this is light, airy, and creamy. I don't want to over mix it or have it undermix, so you can see how creamy that is. What I'm going to do next now is start incorporating the sugar. Okay, so here we have 1 1/3 cup of sugar. So let's go ahead and add a little bit at a time. And as you can tell, I ended up pouring in about half of the sugar, went ahead and whipped it up, and then ended up adding the rest of the sugar. And of course, remember to scrape the sides. Make sure you get all of that in there. And because I really wanted to do this cheesecake justice, I genuinely took my time, made sure that I just really put a lot of love and effort into this. I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Then we're also going to add the zest of a lime. Okay, so we're also going to add the vanilla bean. Now, this is one that I purchased at Whole Foods. Like I mentioned, I did go there for the cream cheese. And this is 1 large bean, 1 very long bean. So I'm actually going to use half of it. So let me go ahead and open this up and then scrape the vanilla bean. Okay, so I'm going to try and zoom in just a little so you can see. So I went ahead and cut the vanilla bean in half. And I'm going to use my knife. I don't know if you saw my online purchases video not too long ago. So this is by Blue Diamond. And I'm just going to cut this in half. Let me see if I can hold this because I do have the tripod right here. And we're going to just cut that right in half. So we're just opening it up. And just be very careful. And you can see some of the vanilla bean right there, and that's what we want out of this. So we're going to open this up, and you can see that. I'm going to take the tip, this portion of my knife, and there it is. So that's what fresh vanilla bean looks like. It almost looks like very, very fine ground coffee. So let's go ahead and push this aside. Let me make sure I got it all. Okay, and there it is right there. I'm just going to go ahead and put that right into the batter. And let me see if I can scrape any more off of that. Okay, and I was able to get a little bit more off of that bean. So I don't want to waste any of that, because that little jar with that one long vanilla bean was $6.99. So anyway, do not waste it. Use it. Take your time with it. Be very careful. And if you do not want to use the vanilla bean, you can use vanilla extract. I would say use about 2 teaspoons. So let's go ahead and continue mixing all of that. You can see the vanilla bean right there.
And as I mentioned, I happened to go to Whole Foods to pick up my ingredients, and the most expensive ingredient did happen to be the vanilla bean pod. So if you do not want to use the vanilla bean because of the pricing, definitely use some higher quality vanilla extract, because that will work just as good.
Okay, so next we are going to use 4 eggs. Okay, so we're going to add the eggs one at a time.
Now, I absolutely loved watching the different phases of this cream cheese mixture. So adding 1 egg at a time, you can actually see the color starting to change and the creaminess of the cream cheese mixture. So anyway, I absolutely love this process. So I really do hope that you're enjoying this and that you'll also enjoy making this as well.
Okay, so for the last 2 ingredients, we have 1/2 cup of sour cream plus 2 tablespoons and a half. So it's 1/2 cup and 2 tablespoons and a half of sour cream. I'm going to add that right in there.
And of course, just give it a really good mix.
So we're ready to pour this into our crust. Okay, so before I move this, I want you to see the consistency of it. It is incredibly airy and very creamy. All right, so let's move this aside and get our spring form. All right, so here we have the spring form with the baked graham cracker crust, and then remember to put the foil around it so moisture doesn't get into it. I'm going to pour the batter right into this spring form, and it should fill it up to the top. Oh my gosh, looks beautiful.
And this genuinely smells incredible.
Okay, and then we're just going to smooth it out with our spatula. And this is just a 9.5 inch spring form, so it brought it up to the top. Okay, I'm going to smooth that out. Let's get the last of this on there, and this was ready to go into the oven. Okay, so what I did was transfer some of this water into this saucepan, because I want to be very careful when I'm pouring it into the into this. Okay, so let's pull this out and carefully place the cheesecake inside. Okay, I'm working with limited hands, so what I did was go ahead and just pop the cheesecake right in here. I'm going to add water in this little corner. Do not let the water splash into your cheesecake. I'm going to try to do this very carefully.
And just remember to be very careful. You're dealing with a hot preheated oven, the roasting pan that's been in the oven, and now you're dealing with very hot water.
Just going to add a little bit more. Okay. Okay, so this is right in the middle, and you've got your water. I don't know if you can tell, it reaches about this far, about 1/3 of the way up. Okay, so I've pushed that back. The water's there, it's level, and we will see you in a little bit. Okay, so we do have our temperature set for 325. And we've got our timer set for 1 hour and 30 minutes. Okay, so while the cheesecake is baking, let's go ahead and create our strawberry sauce. Here I have 2 cups of strawberries. I've got the vanilla bean, which is the other half. We're going to go ahead and split that down the middle and scrape out the vanilla bean. And then 1/3 cup of sugar. So let's go ahead and get these washed up. We will go ahead and take the little stems off and cut them in half. Gone ahead and washed and cut these strawberries in half. Some of the larger ones I cut in quarters. Like I said, we need a 1/3 cup sugar. And let's go ahead and do the same thing that I did earlier with the vanilla bean. We are just going to take our knife, and again, I'm going to zoom in. Just hold the end, and you're going to use a very sharp knife. This will make it much easier. Cut that right in half. Let's open this up. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. Okay, and I'm going to use this part of the knife, and I am just going to scrape all of that out. Hold on, I didn't open that enough.
Okay, and just as last time, let's go ahead and use the end of our knife. We'll go ahead and scrape all the vanilla out of that and pour that right into our sugar.
Okay, so to the saucepan, I'm going to add the strawberries. And here it's sizzling. And here I'm going to add the sugar that has the vanilla bean in it. Making this sauce takes about 15 minutes. Okay, so all we're going to do is just mash this.
And I didn't think to use an immersion blender, but I'm sure that probably would have worked just as well, or maybe even easier. And as you can tell, the strawberries are starting to break down into a sauce.
So as you can tell, it has started to bubble, so I'm going to turn the temperature to low. And we're going to leave it on low for about 10 more minutes. And then just stir it occasionally so that it doesn't burn. Or it doesn't start sticking on the bottom. It has been about another 10 minutes. So as you can tell, it's thickened up a little more. And so what we're going to do is transfer this to a blender, and we are going to blend this.
And of course, be very careful. You're dealing with hot sugar, hot fruit. And when you're pouring this into a blender, you just want to be very, very careful.
Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to strain it because we do want this to be a sauce.
And once you pour it into the strainer, just use the back of a spoon to push that sauce right through.
Here is your sauce. As you can tell, well, I don't know if you can tell, it's still a little warm. So we want to go ahead, it looks pink, but in the camera, hopefully I can show a true color. But we're going to let this cool, and then we will put it in a jar and put it in the refrigerator.
So apparently I lost a little bit of footage. So now that the cheesecake is baked, turn off the oven and reset your timer for about 40 minutes. And then what you will want to do is prop the door open. Here I am using a little wooden spoon, and this will allow the cheesecake to cool within the oven. So now that this timer has gone off, let's go ahead and carefully remove the cheesecake.
So this is pretty cool to touch at this point. I'm going to carefully remove the foil because I want to make sure that there isn't any water caught up in there.
I was so relieved to see that absolutely no moisture got caught up within the foil. So we're on to the next step.
Okay, so this cheesecake has now completely cooled down. I am going to put it in the refrigerator overnight. I'm going to take some cling and seal wrap, some clear wrap, and I am going to lightly cover it. Okay, so it's now the next day. Let's go ahead and pull out our cheesecake.
And next we're going to carefully remove the spring form.
And because I put parchment paper, I'm not going to worry about it sticking. It should just fall right out.
Okay, so next let's just go ahead and remove this extra little piece of parchment paper and then the rest of the parchment paper.
The height of it probably would have given a little bit of a smoother look had I not used that parchment paper, but I didn't want to take any chances on it sticking, which it probably wouldn't have. But. Okay, so before we start decorating our cheesecake, here I have a bowl with ice and then setting another bowl over it. What we're going to do is make some whipped cream. So You can use store-bought whipped cream or you can make your own. And I am going to start by pouring in 2 cups of heavy whipping cream, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And if you have the vanilla bean, you can go ahead and do that. And then I've got 4 tablespoons of powdered sugar. And then we're going to whip this until it is very light and fluffy.
I am going to show you a few phases of the whipping cream as it turns into whipped cream. So as you can see here, I've got it probably like on medium speed, and it's starting to thicken up. And you can test it by seeing if it's forming little peaks. Now this still hasn't formed peaks, so we're going to go ahead and keep going. And there it is. Okay, so we are on to our final step. I am going to take a spatula and just put the whipped cream right on top. And if you notice in the original cheesecake, they left this on. So we're going to do that as well. So first we're just going to start by putting the larger strawberries on the outer. Now I was getting really excited because I knew I was getting near the end. So let's just go ahead and finish decorating and get into this cheesecake. Okay, so next what I'm going to do is take the strawberry sauce that we made last night. And as you can tell, the rich color just finally came through after it was nice and cool. I'm just going to drizzle it over the strawberries and continue to pile the strawberries on. And I'm just going to continue repeating the process by adding strawberries and then drizzling the sauce over it. And if you like blueberries, you can always switch out the strawberries for blueberries. Okay, so for the amount of sauce that we made, it was perfect. So this little bottle is now empty. And let's take a look at the cheesecake and see how it ended up.
Okay, so here is the final cheesecake. Now the original did not have the drizzle on the sides, but because I used the parchment paper, it did leave little ridges. So I went ahead and just let the strawberry sauce go, just drizzle down the sides. Anyway, I'm really excited. So of course the true test is to taste it. So let's go ahead and cut into this and see how it turned out. Okay, so here is the finished strawberry cheesecake, which I absolutely love. So anyway, I hope I did it justice, and let's go ahead and cut into this. Make this easy.
So the one thing I did not mention is that it is good to have your knife hot. So it'll just make for a nice, cleaner, smoother cut. I did have off to the side a glass of water. You can hear it in the background. And all I did was stir the knife in there just to kind of keep it warm so that I can slice it easier. And of course, remember to dry the knife before slicing the cheesecake. Now I did try slicing this straight out of the fridge. I think I should have left it out just a few extra minutes just so that it would soften up just a little bit more.
Doesn't that look beautiful? Look at the height on it. The strawberries, the homemade whipped cream. And you can see the thin layer of graham cracker. Oh, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I'm so proud of myself. All right, so let's go ahead and taste this. All right, so here it is. Absolutely beautiful. It does have beautiful height on it. I love the way the whipped cream and the strawberry drizzle along the side is. And let's just see how creamy it turned out. So I am going to do this right here in front of you. Oh my gosh. That looks so good. I'm gonna grab some of this on here. I could tear up. This turned out so good. Sorry. So, this turned out so good, so creamy. The The thing that I would change is that I would not put parchment paper on the bottom. I do feel like some of the graham cracker was left behind, so I didn't get as much as I would have liked to have. And now that I know, I probably wouldn't use parchment paper along the side, just because I would want that real smooth look. But this is incredible. This strawberry cheesecake is incredible. Oh my gosh, I cannot stress it enough. You know, I'm not gonna have you sit here and watch me eat. I'm gonna enjoy this off the camera. But anyway, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. Let me know if you try this. It is phenomenal. It is so good, and I'm so grateful that I got to go to New York and try one of their cheesecakes. I'll let you know the name of the bakery. It was called Bread Plus a Bakery in Brooklyn. So if you happen to be out there, stop on by. Let them know some crazy YouTuber is trying to recreate their cheesecake. Anyway, thank you guys all so much for watching. This has been incredible. Okay, you guys, so as far as the takeaway is concerned, I would say do not use parchment paper on the bottom. It does take from the crust. Also, use high quality ingredients. It's not something that you're going to be making every single day. So just spend a little extra and get this amazing, creamy, wonderful cheesecake. Give yourself the time to make it because there are a few steps involved, and enjoy. All right, thank you again so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Oh, and one more thing. Remember to like, subscribe, and leave me a comment. Let me know if you make this. All right, love you. Bye.
And
get out of here.
Scream that constantly. It's funny.
You done?
Wow.
Show you a picture of the before of the strawberry cheesecake, that one that we tried. It was from a place called it came from a place called Bakery Plus. No. Okay, so next we are going to use, oh, that looks terrible.